So I got into commentary completely by accident. I was on the Smash team when we first made that. I was one of the first guys here to be a part of that. And at the time, for the trial tournaments and stuff, it was Nick on commentary, but he had to play. So I kind of stepped up and said, oh, I can run commentary for this stream. Sure, it'll be fun. And I kind of went in, and everyone kind of noticed I was pretty good at it. I ran the stream solo at the time. It was kind of funny how it was set up. It was just me in the same room as whoever was playing on a monitor next to their monitor where you could hear everything they said. So it was an interesting setup to say the least. But yeah, I kind of got in out of convenience, and over time I kind of decided, hey, I'll just do this for good, and that's kind of where we started. So I think the best traits for a commentator to have is, for one, you have to be able to work with others. Part of commentary is it's co-op, you know. As much as there's a team on screen, there's a team behind it. And you kind of have to work with whoever you're given at times, and sometimes that's going to change. You're not going to have the same team every stream. So you have to be able to work with anybody that's around you. And sometimes that means shifting roles. You know, like I usually do head commentary, but sometimes you have to shift to color when you have someone who's more analytical, or sometimes you have to be the guy to start conversations when you really don't want to because someone's on who isn't as good at that but is good at commentary. So I think that's the number one trait, is working well with others. I think number two, obviously you have to be confident in your voice and understand that you are representing something. You know, as much as I like to just have fun on these streams, I always keep in mind that I am a representative of this school anytime I am behind that microphone. No matter what, I have to say what the college wants me to say. I can't say anything that goes against that. Understanding that you represent something bigger than yourself is key. And then finally, having fun with it. Understanding that this is a game you are commentating, and the people watching at home are watching to have fun. If you're not having fun, they're not having fun. I grew up watching pro wrestling, and I kind of model a lot of my commentary off of that, where it's more fun oriented, because in pro wrestling, you know, the energy the commentators have is the energy the people watching at home have. So I've always kind of taken that approach of trying to keep up that high energy so that the people at home also have high energy. So my perspective on the season, coming from the outside looking in, is I think there was a lot of growth, and sometimes growth comes with growing pains. Like with the league team, they went from having a really good season this year to, you know, having only winning 2 games the entire season, coming in there towards the end. Whereas Smash took this massive leap and finished in the Final Four. So I think like the biggest perspective was growth. Like with League, you know, they had to learn how to adjust to people in different roles. They basically had to learn, looking back at this season, oh, we got to prioritize drags more. And then of course, you know, with Smash, it was kind of, they figured out what the comps that they needed was for setting up the crew battle format. Like they start with Nick, go to Ethan, finish with Jonathan, kind of going in that set. So I think it was just a lot of growth and figuring out what direction each team wants to go into the future, which sometimes is really pretty and sometimes isn't so much.
Hey yo. Hey yo.
So coming off our fall season, I kind of got an understanding of where we were at both, like for both teams at the skill level. Our Smash team, we did pretty good last season. Lost in the we got a bye first round, I think, and then lost first round of the playoffs, which, I think that we could have went far last year as well. So our league team, I think we were a game above even. Also lost first round of playoffs. So, I knew the potential was there for sure because, both teams made playoffs, both teams had winning records. So it was just kind of tapping into that potential. Going into this season, the biggest goal at least, was to kind of carry that momentum that we had, even though we got bounced early in the playoffs for both teams at least. We got there, we proved to both of ourselves that, we can be here, we deserve to be here, and, kind of carrying on from that. Yeah, so going into, this semester, a big goal of mine was not only recruiting, but as well as making some more, I guess, direct connections with not even local high schools, just the local community in general, getting some more connections with them because there really wasn't any, when I first got here. And that's such a big thing, especially our location where, we're right outside of Asheville, got Johnson City, 30, 45 minutes away. A lot of big towns and cities and so many high schools. Esports is just growing and growing. So a big goal of mine was to be able to connect with them. And so we held our first ever Esport Combine event in March this year, which was honestly a lot of fun. We had, I think, 6-ish recruits that committed that day and everything. So being able to hold an event like that, and this is our first ever one, so it was a good foot to have in the door. It was a good way to kind of take that first step and show what we want to do as a program and what we want to continue doing. And I think this one was really good and honestly a great way to kind of improve for the future. Just a few weeks ago we were able to start working with G Fuel a bit. So, doing a lot of sponsorship, partnership, all that stuff, being able to provide the most that we can to students is, a big thing for me, and, I think we've done pretty well so far. So the league team, like I said, our expectations were pretty, I would say like a medium level expectation going in. Finished last season, like I said, a game or two above even. Lost in the first round of playoffs, but I think, like I said, that getting there proved to us that we deserved to be there, and we had a lot of potential. So, me and Tyler had spoken a little bit at the end of last season because that was honestly my first time ever getting into league and learning about it because I kind of avoided it. But it's not as bad as, once I got into it, it's really not too confusing. It's honestly really fun, and I enjoy it now. I was watching the LCS and everything. So, I'm learning more and more as I watch other guys play. And so me and Tyler kind of sat down and spoke about, hey, why don't we put instead of having just one, I don't want to say bad lane, one super inexperienced lane, and switching, putting one up top, one bot, and then having Seth come down bot, which, he's an experienced, knowledgeable player of himself. So that way, we'll have like an okay top, great mid and jungle, and then our bot lane will also, I think Seth could also really help A branches out. And it just didn't work out. I think it helped the team a lot because it put a level of respect for each other's roles and everything, and understanding of, what you have to do and what they have to do within the game. So I think it did a lot for the team. So even though our record at 2-7, including playoffs, really doesn't show, great success, I think it really helped, especially the new players like Cam. And even Seth, I think Seth learned a lot, with the change. He did great in both roles, so, he did really good. and everybody did really good despite the record. It was just, I think, a bad time to do it when we didn't get a practice over winter break. Coming straight in, we're trying to learn new roles as we're competing in a division higher than we should be. I think it just was a bad mix and unfortunate kind of timing that we chose to do it. But, you know, I think despite the record, you know, we took down the best team in the league or in our division and took a map off them before and should have beat them, honestly, in playoffs again. But, you know, I think we did great regardless of record. Who do I think is league MVP? I would probably have to say Tyler, for the fact that, you know, just because you have a team captain role doesn't always mean people take on the leadership of being a captain. I think Tyler did a great job this semester of really helping everybody kind of understand their own roles and understand the game and really taking on the leadership as a whole. You know, everybody did, like I said, everybody did really good this season. And, you know, Cam did good by switching and learned a lot himself. And I think he performed, you know, probably, you could argue even better in the top lane. But, you know, Tyler coming in and just helping everybody understand their roles and helping in any way, setting up practices, always handling the reschedules and matches and everything. You know, he was a big part of, you know, the success that we did have, so.
So, the role swap, I think it was a good idea in the thought of it. But me and Jamie had talked about it prior, and when Jamie first mentioned it, I said no, because what happened is exactly what I thought would happen, is we put two new players in two different roles, and they're not able to play to the standards of a higher ranked player. So there's more attention I have to divvy between the lanes.
So the role change was an interesting move. It was in good spirits. I think putting me, a very new player, in what is arguably the hardest role in the game was probably not the smartest choice. So moving me to top lane was definitely a good decision. It's just that good decision was also counteracted by the fact that we have now split our two new players into two different lanes that are on opposite sides of the map.
No, yeah, there was a definite like noticeable quality to it. Playing with Cam, he is vocal in terms of like telling me to back off in certain things, because I will just stay in lane and, you know, try and hoard as much money as I can before going back and getting my items. But he'll like actively be reminding me, hey, watch out, I'm not there. Hey, you looking at the map? Do that. Whereas with Seth, I mean, he has the mechanics of the game down a lot better, but he and me get overconfident a little bit, so we'll make risky plays when we probably shouldn't have, or like he'll go in for a roam when I'm not anywhere near like able to fend for myself. So there was a difference.
Swapping roles wasn't it wasn't too difficult for me personally, because like before I played top lane, I played support. But when I played support, I played with like a dedicated duo, so I knew how like they wanted to play, they knew how I wanted to play, that type of thing. And I was like, oh, I'm good buddies with A branches. It'll be a lot easier than it was with him. But switching down to A-Branch's lane and just learning how he played, it was hard in that sense to like micromanage like what he was doing, and then also to micromanage what I was doing, keeping track of like where the jungler is, where the enemy laners are, all that stuff. It was just difficult to, being so used to top, I don't really have to talk to anyone. Like I can be like, oh, top laner's missing, and then just go about what I was doing. But I had to do so much more down bot, and I know A-Branches, he needs communication to play, because that's just what he's used to. So it was just a lot different in that. Just readjusting to like communicating to another person. He's my husband, and that's in that situation. You know, relationships, they need communication to work. I needed my hubby to know what I was doing, and I wasn't good at that. So we had to get a divorce, and he sent me back up top.
What we can take away, I'd say, was learning to communicate as a team better, being able to talk better and communicate better, whether that be focusing on objectives or prioritizing a certain player that's doing better in the game. That's something we need to take and improve on. I don't think we're bad at it, we just need to get better at it. I think this year we were able to learn, we can open up our team comps. Like last year specifically, I played Nunu and Zach and maybe someone else, Jarvan. And this year I played probably 6 or 7 different champions.
This spring season's been pretty good. Way more improvements from everyone, I think. I think I did way better than I did last semester. I'm talking way more, communicating, it's way better. Not even just in game, just with the other people in the esports room. Compared to last season, we were just kind of everywhere. We had new people, but we were still everywhere compared to now. And everyone has like their own groove that we follow and get better at.
There's a big rough patch at the beginning, just trying to get used to everything, and then we only won 2 games in a regular season, but a lot of our losses were really close losses that I didn't feel all too bad about. There were a couple ones that I was absolutely livid at that will never ever see the light of day again. But our wins were great wins, and most of our losses were really close. So overall, I think the season was about on par with how we did last time. It just swayed a little bit in one direction over the other.
The meta changed a lot because, like, you know, from season to season, League usually they like to implement like big new things to the game, like with the new dragons and all that. We expected going into the season that bot lane was going to be a lot more volatile than it actually turned out to be. With like all the new dragons, we were like, oh, they're a lot more important, this, that, and the other, which for a little while it was with Chemtech Drake, and then they took it out, and then it was kind of just like how it was last season. So it was adjusting to that, as well as adjusting to all of the different changes that were added with champions and whatnot.
We were really good on analyzing how every game went. If something was good, we would talk about the goods, which was helpful. I mean, you know, reassuring what you need. And then when things weren't so good, when we'd lose or we get really just stomped, figuring out what to do better, how to progress, and then adaptation. So
I thought like mentally we were still doing better. Even after like doing something wrong, we would do something last semester, say someone did one misplay, it'd be like very bad on like someone's mental, like someone would get very angry. But now we're like getting used to things, like knowing that other people are better than us and that we can grow. Like compared to this semester and last semester, we played against a lot of higher elo people that we would never have to face before. And it just gets us in a better mindset.
My expectations are that we're gonna work together as a team better. We're actually able to practice, and I can work one-on-one with Seth and Cam, and me and Nairo can work on our your chemistry together better. Being able to take computers home, I'll actually be able to practice and finally get to platinum, hopefully. I think overall, improving as players, working together, and Cam mentioned it prior, we won't be in the same room, so we will actually have to talk louder and communicate more clearly. So I can't just like turn around and look at him and be like, oh, this is what you need to be doing. And same goes with Seth. Seth sometimes doesn't talk a lot, so I have to reiterate for him to communicate a little more. And it's not a problem. When he does communicate, it's great, but just not stop talking. Like, even if we're losing or having a bad game, say it's the first game, we still have 2 more games to play. Like, it's not over just because we lose the first one.
But now that we all can actually take a computer home and play as a team, it's definitely going to help a lot with our chemistry, and it's definitely going to help with how we interact with one another and how we communicate. Now it's going to be entirely online. We're not going to be able to see each other in person. Well, most of us aren't going to be able to see each other in person. So when we do interact, it's going to be through Discord. It's going to be on a group call, and we're going to get used to probably talking louder. We're going to get used to calling out more, hopefully. And I think our gameplay is going to improve because of it. I will no longer be hard stuck in iron.
We're going to come back in with a lot of new tricks because we'll be playing together for however long we're gone for a good period of time. Odds are, if we're not working, or if we're not busy with stuff, we're going to be playing together. So kind of just learning new things that we are good at and that we can do while playing to our strengths. We'll just kind of learn from there, get better, put a lot more time into it because, people have a lot more time to put into it. And just learning how to play together better.
Team MVP, I mean, it's tough. I don't want to say anyone did better than anybody else. I think everyone played great this season, regardless of our record or how bad or good we did. I think we played great as a team. Even if we did better last season, I think we still did better this season. I'm gonna say Seth. I think swapping roles with Cam, it wasn't as hard for Cam, but Cam still learned. He learned what he needed to do. He still has 4 more seasons total to improve. And I think Seth has the potential to be one of the best players on our team. He's just a very knowledgeable person when it comes to video games, so if he wants to improve, he will put in his mindset of, I want to get better, and he will absolutely get better at the game.
My team MVP would probably be Cam. He's growing way faster than he thinks, and he doesn't know it. I hate, we try to tell him that he's getting way better, but he just doesn't think so. But even with the role swap, when he went to top, he started doing more fundamentals better when he went back to support. And that's everyone saw that. He went back to support and we're like, oh wow, he's even though he's playing a different role, he's doing something way better.
I'm going to say Tyler was our MVP because, like I said before, he's him and Nairo were both there at the beginning. They know how to play the game. They're very good at the game. But also, Tyler taught me a lot of things that I did not know how to do. He was able to reassure me that it was not my fault that we lost, and in general just keep a very positive attitude in the room while we were playing. He was very understanding to both the enemy teams and to us whenever something bad happened. He was just a very good team captain overall. And I think that combined with how good of a player he is and how many games he's won us gives him the MVP spot.
I would say Mr. Nairobi Long. It's just evident. He plays the game a lot. He's our one plat player. Also, we would just focus our plays around him, get him fed, then he can impact the rest of the map. So he was the real tool that we used to secure a lot of our victories.
Probably Tyler, honestly, because he kind of had to like adjust very quickly to me switching back from support to top lane, and make those kind of like decisions on the fly for what would be better for the team. And then also, like, obviously in game, he realized as soon as I went back top, he wouldn't have to gank me as much because, you know, I'm self-sustainable. I can get the picks that I need, that type of thing. I know my matchups, I know my 1v1s a lot better. I know my character strengths, that type of thing. So he realized that he could play for the other lanes a lot more. And then even when I wasn't in top lane, he knew like what he had to be doing to make sure that things were gonna be going smoothly. And every game he was always doing that. He was always making sure that things were like going as smoothly as they could and playing for our win con, which more likely than not was Nairo. And he would get Nairo ahead, that type of thing. And then once I switched back to top lane, his win con became me and Nairo. So when I needed it, he would play for me. When Nairo needed it, he would play for him, that type of thing. So it was just understanding what his win con was at every point in the game. And we didn't win however many games we did at the beginning of the season, but he still understood what his win con was, and he was trying to get us to that point.
So last season, I think, being my first season here, I just wanted to kind of, for both teams, feel where they were at skill-wise, where they were at player-wise, individual, and everything. And I think both teams did really well. Smash, they did really well in their season. You know, we got knocked out first round of playoffs. But it was still a good season overall. I think, you know, everybody did their part. You know, at that point, we still had 5 players, so we had more of a bigger range of different competitors that we could bring out and characters that we could bring out for certain situations and whatnot, which I think really helped us last season. And then going into this season, you know, we lost 2, so we just had the 3 that, you know, were required and everything. I was a little curious on how that was going to go this year, being that, you know, we had our 3 guys. No matter who the other team threw out, that's who we kind of had to work with, you know, regardless of whatever situation. And, you know, so it was definitely a point where, you know, I think a lot of people, including myself, wanted to see how we kind of bounced back from that. And I think, you know, everybody did really well. For the most part, we just kept the Nick, Ethan, Piplup lineup. And, you know, I think it went well, obviously. We did really good in the season. I think week 2 was our week 1 of last year. So, but, you know, other than that, they all did really good. The lineup was like the death lineup, you know, like we had Bowser and then Roy and then the Dark Pit for the majority of the game. So it was a good lineup to have out. And, you know, I think they did really good. They went into playoffs, some close matches there, but, you know, I think we pulled through everything really well, which ultimately led us to the Final 4 that we got. Going into playoffs, the expectation for me, you know, I think there was a little over 64 teams, and it was single elimination, so, you know, we got a first round bye, so we were automatically top 64 placing wise. I think realistically, a realistic placing for me after, you know, getting bounced early in the first round last season in the playoffs was around the top 16 mark. Or when they actually got to the top 6 or top 8, you know, I had all the faith that we could easily even win the thing. The third place match came down to whoever hit each other first, and you know, we just got unlucky with that. But you know, it was an insane, just that whole run was insane, I think. And I think that we finally started getting the recognition that we deserve. The school started posting about everything, and a lot of people had eyes on us, and I think that was the biggest part of this whole season was, you know, finally getting people to understand that, you know, we're just not some random club of kids who like to play video games, and we're actually competing on campus. And I think that was the biggest thing for us. I really think that only having our 3, like that was the 3 that we had no matter what, I think that really helped us kind of push each other. You know, they worked really well. Even going into week 1, I think Ethan did really well with getting everybody on the same page. Nick being the more technical guy, you know, kind of explaining matchups and everything really well. And Piplup coming in as the anchor. I think all of that together as like, listen, this is all we have. So, you know, we're either going to win together or lose together, but this is it. I think that really helped strengthen our season because, you know, that it got those 3 reps every single match. I think just having that core group of 3, whereas, you know, like I said, last season we had those 5 where, you know, we could toss in a couple different characters in different situations. So it was kind of like a get out of jail free card last season, whereas this year this is what we got, so if it's a bad matchup, we're just going to have to bail each other out. My team MVP for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate this season is definitely, and it's so hard because, especially this season with the 3, you know, Ethan's captain was phenomenal. He did really well with, you know, the leadership role that he was given this whole year, actually. And then Nick, this being his last year, he performed really well. But you know, my personal MVP is definitely Piplup. I feel like being the anchor, especially in your first season, and being thrown into so many of those clutch situations that he had to be in, which, I mean, like I said earlier, our third place match came down to the last hit basically, and him even getting to that point, getting us to that point in the series, in the set before that was, you know, I think really underrated because a lot of our wins came off that the anchor role that he had. And, you know, that's a lot of pressure, especially for somebody being thrown into it as their first season playing. And you know, I think he handled it all really well.
Everything is quiet.
Honestly, this kind of, like the whole captainship, just being a captain and like leading this team, it kind of got just put on me. You know, after just a year of playing, you know, that was a big role for me to fill. And taking on, you know, VOD reviews, trying to set up practices, getting everybody's class schedules going, and just seeing like when we can get together and how to. I think the hardest thing was just planning the games because of just other activities that I have going on, Nick had going on, and also Pip whenever, you know, he was busy. I'd have to say I've thoroughly enjoyed like this year. It's been a lot of fun, and I've loved every second of it. Even like the ups and the downs of losing, winning. It's all been a very big change and a learning process, but I've loved it.
We absolutely popped off this year. We went from losing every single set and being a little bit dysfunctional to being a legitimate playoff contender fall and spring. Went 5-3 with ECAC, went 6-2 this season. went really deep in the playoffs, like at the end of the spring, which is really nice. Just performed. And then especially this semester, but to an extent last semester, we've been playing a lot of offline tournaments in the Asheville region.
You know, I feel like how we improved from this season compared to last season is like, it was immense. Just the growth that all of us had, you know, just over time, because, you know, as you play, you get better, and we did just that. We got better. And through getting better, we were able to achieve the results that, you know, that showed that. The way we just like, we go at it together, we play all the time, and with that, we just learn from each other. We learn what to do, what not to do, and how we can use that in our matches and all that stuff.
From last season, when it was, you know, 5, we had Tyler, Steven, me, Nick, and Pip, to now just us 3 working and trying to get the job done. I think we didn't have the mix-ups and the choices that we did, so we really just had to work with what we had, and I think we did overall really well with that. But also it kind of made our bond just a little bit stronger because of how like these crew battles are set up, and how, you know, in 2021 they were 5v5, but now it's 3v3. So like, okay, you got your 3 main people, and then you got your backups, or the people that you send in, you know, after, like, okay, this person doesn't play well against this person. So definitely, you know, we just had to strategize a lot more, and there was a lot of discussion. You can ask Tyler, Cam in some regards, you know, like we really went in depth, especially like the playoff games. We were like, okay, this stage is not good to play against this character, so we'd have to work around that and just make sure that, you know, since we don't have that character pool anymore and the player pool, we just gotta go based off knowledge and see what works best.
Yeah, so last season, you know, having a few extra people did give us a major advantage if one of us wasn't on it mentally. Me, especially when I'm playing online, I can mauled pretty hard. So last season we had, you know, a couple other people who could come in, you know, and, you know, let me just breathe for a little bit. You know, there were a couple times where Ethan actually took himself out of the lineup because he was just not comfortable in his gameplay. This season, not having those two, you know, it was rough on us mentally, but it also kind of lit a fire under the 3 of us who did continue playing to, you know, learn our bad matchups, to work on our mentality. Actually, I'm really proud of how far my mental has come this season. There was pretty much any time we were playing, I was doing my best to be that veteran presence in between games. You know, make calls on, like, if we realize, like, oh, there's a matchup we don't know a lot about, or there's a player on the enemy team really popping off, like, you know, I tell them, like, study the matchup while I play, and then I'd be, you know, giving tips to people, which we didn't have so much last season because we kind of just thought, you know, if one of us isn't performing, you know, to the level we know we can, let's just, you know, throw a Falco at it. Let's just lean on, you know, our online Zelda. You know, we really had to put the pressure on ourselves this season, which, you know, I think worked out in the end.
Well, I never expected the position of anchor to be, you know, so nerve-wracking. I just never wanted to be the first one out, so I just decided that being last would be the best thing for me. It turns out that it's extremely stressful, no matter what, and I just feel like, you know, it gets me used to being under pressure, and I really like that a lot, because, you know, I'd say one of my biggest weaknesses last season was getting over my nerves during competition and all that. And really being you know, being the back line, being the last stand of the team, I really feel like that helps out a lot. And with that, I'm able to, you know, shake off any nervousness I've had and really move forward in being my best I can when playing. And, you know, it's just great as a whole. You know, it prepares me for a lot of things, a lot of situations, and for that, you know, I feel like I really put myself in the best spot I could possibly be.
I'd say going into next year, you know, Nick in particular, since he's leaving, he's graduating. So, you know, good luck to him first off. But honestly, I think we're going to be good, but we're just going to have to work a little bit more harder because, you know, when I was a new captain, like, I kind of relied on him a little bit to just see things that from a different perspective that I wasn't seeing. And he has so much knowledge of this game. It's kind of crazy what, you know, he knows, the very minute details that he knows about this game. We're going to have to work a little harder and just make sure that we get more practice in and we just know what we're getting into. I think we got a solid group of guys coming in though. And like I said, we're just going to have to apply ourselves and make sure we know the matchups because this game has over 80 characters now, and we're just gonna have to be ready for that and just have stuff ready to go. Hey, maybe even call Nick.
For next season, I feel like things are going to be very different. We're losing Nick, easily our most insightful person on the team, and you know, with him gone, we're getting 2 new people, and it'll be interesting to see how they integrate well within the team comp, how they can perform, and what we can do to teach them to be, you know, the best that they can. And honestly, I feel like it's going to be a lot more competitive next year. You know, it's going to be a lot harder too, because as we go up, you know, everyone else goes up with us. You know, everyone learns and everyone gets stronger, and we have to do the same to do that, to be able to beat them and to progress as much as we want to. And in the end, I just feel like it'll be even better than this season, and that's saying a lot because this season was great.
So I think next year, the guys already on the team are definitely going to be taking the summer to, you know, think about, you know, do I want to keep with my character? What do I do new with my character or character pool? You know, really improve at the game and just grind as much as they can. You know, Pip is going home to Florida, and Florida has a ridiculously stacked scene, especially the region he's in. And he's thinking about, you know, maybe branching out of his low tiers into, you know, something that's a little easier to execute and has better matchups. You know, Ethan's just been grinding all semester with the Asheville guys. He's probably going to stick with this character, but, you know, see what direction he can push his play. As for the new recruits, because we do have a couple new recruits, I'm really excited about the ones that I've met so far.
I mean, we got Pip, you know, the closer of the games. Nick, clutch God. I'd have to say Pip just because, you know, going up against 13 different teams and, you know, 10 out of 13 times, you know, he's got that clutch factor as far as, you know, being able to just close the game out. And, you know, that's a pretty high record. You know, when you go toe-to-toe with different teams, you wouldn't expect almost every time to be, you know, something that, okay, all right, we got Pippin, it's a three stock on 3 stock situation. All right, we got Pip coming in, he's more than likely gonna win. There wasn't a time that I ever felt like, okay, we might lose because Pip's got to play this person, or there wasn't a time that I wasn't ever confident in his abilities. Now, there were some times, you know, he was just off a little bit and the other team just played a little bit better, but that's just how it goes. But to have a 10 out of 13 success rate, that's pretty amazing, and I got to give it a Pip, honestly, as far as MVPs goes. But to end on that, I feel like everybody did well. You know, we all had our shining moments, from Pip, you know, being the clutch master and just being able to close out the games, to Nick taking, you know, going against whatever character was going first, and he was always ready to do it and ready to go against them. And then me, I mean, I had my ups and downs as far as, you know, not being able to stay consistent. But when I was on, I was taking at least 6 stocks a game, like in one set. So I think we all had our times to shine, and overall, I'm not. There's no one player that did absolutely stellar compared to everybody, but Pip definitely had that clutch factor, and I'd give him MVP.
I think MVP would definitely have to go to Nick for me, because while you guys can't see it when we're doing our matches, but he is always there giving us knowledge, giving us insight on what to expect with the matchup, what we can do, and how we can apply our play style to said matchup. He really knows what to say to make sure that you know what you're getting into and how you can be your best while playing. And I feel like that doesn't get acknowledged enough because you can't really see that on stream. But like if you were in this room as we were doing our matches, you'd see that he does a really great job at, pushing us to be our best. And I like that a lot. And so for that, I think I'll give him the MVP.
Team MVP, it's a tough one. It's the classic case of peaks versus consistency, I think, because Jonathan has been, Crispy Wilt has been the rock that every single week, he's never going to bomb out. He's going to perform at the end of our sets where it matters most. He's going to put everything on the line, and he's going to make it close. And more often than not, he clutches it out. He's made a couple serious comebacks that have, won us sets that we otherwise might not have gotten. But on the other hand, there's Weeby Boys, Ethan/Weeby Boys, like just leadership in and out of the game. And there's times where he will just absolutely decimate people. He will put the team on his back and just take out 2 by himself. It feels like any one of us can be the player that the team lives or dies on in any given week. So it's really tough to just single out one of us. I want to give credit to Jonathan for doing so well in his rookie season, especially because it weighs on him mentally to be in this format, to be so new to it. So I'll probably give him just for my final answer. Every single one of us was a cog in that machine, and if any of us had been worse, then the team would not have gotten where we did.
Yeah, I didn't know this club existed for the longest time. So when I found out there was a bunch of gamers doing Smash tryouts when we first started trying to do a varsity Smash, it's like, hey, let me get on that. And then I played Seth, and then lost all will to play Smash Brothers. And then, yeah. But then I started to hang out with the guys and made friends, and slowly but surely made a good set of connections here with Morrisville Esports. I mean, I've been in like various team-oriented settings, like in the various jobs that I've had over the course of my college years, working in group projects on various assignments. But I guess when it's like, it boils down to gaming in general, I mean, like, it's a bit different because, I don't know, it's fun, lighthearted most of the time when you're not, seething at your teammates. But I definitely wish I could have competed a little bit earlier in my college career. Like if I had known about this sophomore to junior year and competed during my junior year, I would have like much more time to like actually do things. I could like focused on being competitive, because I mean that was kind of the kicker at the latter end. I just had so much going on with like my senior related stuff, trying to find a new job, various like things to get me ready to get out of college. So I just wasn't able to commit the same level of practice and energy as some of the other teammates that I had. I have a wealth of friends, a bunch of sweaty gamers that I can hit up whenever I need to play something with. I will never have to suffer with randoms again. And yeah, I am just thankful for all of my experiences and friends that I made through esports.
Yeah, so as far as I know, like, esports started as like an idea in Tony Floyd's head, which Tony Floyd, being president of Mars Hill, came in actually at the same time I did, you know, my freshman year in 2018. And so he came in, and one of the things he wanted to create at Mars Hill, because he sees the growing market for it and the growing need for colleges to have it, is esports. And so they, you know, spent a year, you know, planning it at a really high level. You know, it was kind of on the down low for a bit, and it just so happened that, God, this is a really fun sequence of events. I was working at Ingles at the time, my freshman year, and one of the IT guys, I think he was Eddie, but it may have also been Steve. Anyway, one of the IT guys comes through my line at Ingles, and I noticed I was wearing a Mars Hill shirt, and he's like, "Yeah, I work in IT." I'm like, "Oh, I'm a student there. I'm a CS major." And he says, "Oh, come in for an interview." And so I do, start talking to Ted, and he's listing a bunch of things that, you know, IT interns generally do, a bunch of projects that they have, and he just offhandedly mentions, "Yeah, we're thinking about like adding esports here." And I perked up because, you know, I was I even then was a competitive Smash player. I was really interested in the idea. I was god awful at the game. Like, if I looked at my gameplay from that era, like I would have gotten rocked by any of the half decent players we have now. But yeah, it turned from that little moment to next semester, me working in IT, and us just revealing it to the world. And we got incredible support just from the very beginning. We revealed it at an interest fair, which can have mixed turnouts. But, you know, I found some of the early members of the club at that interest fair. Katie Dotson, who is one of the absolute pillars of this club, could not have existed today without her help, was there. Her partner Cody was there, who any of the OGs remember Cody. Brianna Moffitt, nowadays our journalist on the media team, met her there. She's mentioned World of Warcraft. I'm trying to think who else. I think even Tyler Rice might have been there at the interest fair. I don't remember that clearly, but yeah. And so from there, we scheduled a couple of club interest meetings. First of which had about 10-ish people, most of which are still here. I remember Jonathan Angeles Sanchez was at one of those. A few other people, including some already mentioned. We had another interest meeting with like 30 people in it. And that was kind of the moment where it went from an idea in mine and Ted's head to this is real. Students want this. There's 30 people here. So we officially formed the club with the help of Sterling Henderson, our first ever head coach. He kind of took on an advisor role, and between me and him, we worked with Res Life, and Esports Club became a real thing. So spring comes around, the varsity program is starting to get some steam. Actually, I was named one of the first 2 varsity players ever because at the time I was the clear best Smash player on campus. It was not a contest because all the people who were even vaguely close to me, either graduated or transferred. So it's like, may as well. And then the other was Tyler Rice, the best League of Legends player at the time. Just really interested. Nowadays he's the captain of the team, done really well in that role. But yeah, me and him were the 2 OG varsity players, and pandemic hit. Because one of the things, pretty much the major thing Sterling focused on was recruiting new people. He had, I think, 11 people committed to coming as of March of 2020. And then when fall 2020 started, only one of them made it back, Nairobi Vaughn, who has been a rock of the League of Legends team, since that moment. But it really killed a lot of our momentum. The club got back a lot of that momentum in fall 2020, and also the varsity Smash team really popped off as far as like people interested in it. That's where we got our current captain Ethan, who was a casual player at the time. That's where we got Seth Wynn, who was the captain after I stepped out of the captaincy role for a bit there. And he also brought in, the other current varsity player, Jonathan Aguia, was a friend of Seth's who just happened to come by later. But yeah, we started getting involved in NACE. At that point, it was literally just, we were looking for a new head coach after Sterling left, and me and Dr. Z were doing our absolute best to, keep the program running. I haven't mentioned Dr. Z, but over the summer of 2020, I did convince him to become the club advisor in Sterling's place. And his presence as a faculty member and as like a mental rock kept us going through what otherwise could have been a club and organization killing time, because we were suffering until fall 2020 hit, and we just hit the ground running in a way other clubs didn't. And we're really lucky that we made it through that, but it's also due to the hard work of, to an extent me, but also to Dr. Z, to Katie. I know Cody was taking a gap semester there, but he was still doing things. Ted, as he always does in times of need, took on a bit more of a presence, and then we just kept that momentum going. But yeah, we, over the summer, held our first ever Smash tournament, Battle of Bailey Mountain. Smash team really got integrated with the local scene at that point. After the previous head coach left, we were just scrambling for a new one in time this semester. It was really tough because we weren't sure if we were going to keep our momentum from 2020 to 2021. And then we got Jamie Nickel, I think is how you pronounce this. Anyway, we got Jamie Nickel as our head coach, and he just the club kind of suffered for unrelated reasons, but the varsity organization took a gigantic step forward that season. We moved out of NACE into ECAC, which as an organization I think worked better for us. League finally started competing on a consistent basis. They had a full squad of 5. Smash just got into everything we could get our hands on. Media team took steps forward. It's still taking steps forward. Videos like this. So the varsity and media side took finally hit its stride once Jamie came in. And, the club's still going strong. We have new officers coming in next semester. My boy Tyler as president, Nairo as secretary, Seth as VP. I forgot to mention Cam as treasurer because we had a gap in treasurer in 2020, and he was just willing, and he's going to be returning to that role next semester as I think the only returning officer. Yeah, I think that's less than brief history of kind of esports. I could go on for hours about all the stuff that this club and this varsity organization has brought to campus, brought to me, brought to all the people in it. It's pretty much defined my tenure at Mars Hill, and defined a lot of people's, just lives outside of the classroom. And for just so many more, it's been like a twinkle in their eye of, here's a place where other people, share my love for competitive gaming, even if some aren't as active as they could be, as some of the rest of us are. the largest club there is by a lot. And that's meant a lot to a lot of people. Esports brought to me just a community of my own. It was never the sole thing I was focused on. I have too many things going on for that to be true, between being a quadruple minor, so I know people in English and history that I otherwise wouldn't have met. I'm the only currently active ultimate frisbee player, but that used to be a major part of what I did here. But esports was, it has been where most of my closest friends have come from, either directly or indirectly. There are some people who I don't know that I would have ever met without it, especially Katie, Cody, Macy, Marcus, just my closest friends in college that I would have never met in the first place, let alone gotten as close with because of this. It's been, my legacy as a student is being the associate director, the club president, the captain of Smash, in the early days before, I had to move on to associate director status. It's been a lot. Because I've done basically everything there is to do on the esports side, from running the club to running club events to ran the social media for a bit when the social media was not nearly as good as it is now. Streamed, commentated, played, coached, and I think one of the things it's brought is I'm comfortable telling other people and spreading the word of, here is a community of people that you can be a part of, or even if you're not into competitive gaming, that you can at least acknowledge, this is who people are. This is a large part of who I am, but, it's not just me. It's a community of people that is thriving and is only growing. I honestly might not have stayed at Mars Hill in general if it hadn't been for this, because actually I originally didn't plan on staying all 4 years. I meant to come here 2 years and then transfer somewhere else. Esports made Mars Hill kind of feel like the right place to be. As far as the Smash team, I'm really glad to see Ethan and the new captain and his development into that role. I'm trying to teach him how to run tournaments so that after this year, I am staying for our summer tournament this year, but after that, it's going to have to be a whole new generation, keeping Battle of Bailey Mountain alive, keeping the varsity team alive. I think with the people we have in leadership positions next year, and with all the new crop of people that are going to come and be the supporting club members that everyone currently has been to me, I think it'll be smooth. There's just so many people to thank. I've touched on so many people just talking about the history of this club, about where the club is going, but I really could not have done it without guys like Dr. Zinna, without the work the early people like Sterling and Nick Hoffman and Cody did, without the people moving forward with Tyler and Seth and Cam and Katie in particular. People don't give her enough credit. Ted for being the original architect that gave me the tools to do what I needed to do, and the vision from Tony Floyd, who I haven't talked about a lot, but is doing a lot for Mars Hill University, not just esports, but the whole college. As president, he's given a lot of people hope for where the school is going. Yeah, I don't know what else to say other than talking for hours on end about what all this has meant to me. But yeah, we play games. Is what it comes down to.
Going back to when I first got here, not even going even further back, when I first got interviewed here, a big thing. I was speaking with, Zena, Ted, all the known guys here, behind the scenes guys. They were a part of my interview process, and I think the biggest thing that helped me get the job here is my expression of passion that I have for esports and everything, and that all the stuff that I wanted to bring here that I think really was lacking when I first came. And so I came and toured and fell in love with everything. Didn't get to meet any of the guys yet because it was still summer. It was like a week before they came back. So yeah, so I finally got hired, came in, and I came in the first week of September, and my apartment wasn't even ready until October 1st, so I had to live in some of the dorms for 3 weeks. And I think that 3 weeks kind of helped in a way because I was so close to campus that I was literally always here, except I was telling Tyler the other day that when I first got here, I stayed in my office when I was like on campus, and then like when I moved 30 minutes away, now is when like I'm always chilling here with the guys and everything and having a really good time. And but I think coming here, not even knowing like the history or background of anything, just kind of interviewing for the spot and coming, and then as I'm learning myself, learning the history of what each person here has done for the program, the club, all that stuff, kind of hearing what's went wrong, what's went right and everything, and kind of building off of that. I would definitely say that there was a pushback period, especially with the club side of things, because I think it was mainly a club. Like it didn't really feel like there was a varsity aspect when I first got here, and that was like a big thing for me. Is I think we've got some talent. Obviously, we have some talent within the program, and just kind of being able to separate them from just being club members and everything, actually giving them the role of like a varsity athlete was kind of a big thing for me. And like I said, I kind of felt like it was merged really heavily. And we've grown so much. Even before I got here, they already had the club PCs. They've got their own room now with 11 computers, VR system, all that stuff, which is open to any student on campus. We've got our varsity area, which we've expanded so much on this year with the stream room and all of the studio equipment that we use in our videos and whatnot. Just being able to kind of separate that and be able to give the club members kind of their casual area to just go hang out and have fun and meet new people and friends and whatnot. And then whenever they come into the varsity area, that's when they can really compete and actually push themselves to get better. And I think that's kind of something that I've learned myself is kind of I was always the captain of the teams at Concord and the Call of Duty team at Concord with all of our success. But spending this year, instead of kind of hammering down right away on different types of things that they could do as individual players, I wanted to learn kind of each student. I wanted to learn them as a student before a player, whereas when I was captain, all I really cared for was the player, because I didn't have to worry about each other's grades and everything. So now that we have a good view of each person as a student, what each person wants to be and strives to be as a student and a player, I think next year is just going to grow even further. Like I learned that once we beat Concord in I think week 2 of Smash, that was like the program's first win, or one of them at least. And just having that feeling of now we're on the board, now we can actually start moving forward in the varsity aspect. I think Nick and Zena and everybody else, like he mentioned in his interview, has done a lot within the club aspect. But now it's the varsity's turn, right, to actually get some attention and get some love and be pushed forward. And they started off last year. Both teams made all 3 teams made playoffs in the fall because we had Madden as well. And I think that was in its own, like, kind of, it even helped show all the students, what actually competing was like collegiately, because it's a whole different game than rather than just sitting in your room or sitting anywhere and just playing games the whole time. You're actually competing for a school, you're competing for a program, you're competing for League of Legends, you're competing alongside 4 other guys. Smash, you're competing alongside 2 with the crew battles, and it's like, you have a lot to motivate you, and I think that was the biggest thing, is just being able to kind of unlock that potential in a lot of the guys here this year. And they've all done really good, and I'm really proud of how this year went. It was my first year, so I've got a lot to learn myself as a director, coach, person, whatever you call them. And I'm really excited to help, kind of further unlock each potential in each of our students here, both current and incoming. I think we've done a lot. We're working on the academic side, trying to get an esports degree. We've worked with some brands to get some partnerships with internships and whatnot. We're doing a lot to help them at the student side, but as well as, a lot of these guys want to compete and have fun with that as well. So I think being able to kind of find that healthy mix of both is something that I think we're going to kill next year, and I think that's going to be really fun.